All right, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Jessie Bowen, and welcome to Become an Author. I am the president of Elite Publications, and I'm here with my co-host, Karen Eden Herdman, and we are excited. What about it, Karen?
Hi, everybody. So glad that you could join us today. And we got a lot of great things to talk about. I'm so excited about all the potential that we have out there to use our ability. So many great speakers and talented people in their own right, but also as writers. Hanshi, I hope people don't miss the opportunity in their lifetime to get their story told.
Well, that is a really key point, that everybody has a story. You just have to get it out. And Karen, what we're trying to do is to help people to simplify that. I meet so many writers or would-be writers or people with great stories. They don't know where to start. They think it's back in 1960 and you have to do everything old school. And, they're a little concerned about, how do I do that? And at Elite Publication, we have created a whole system and a team that makes it easy for people to do that. Now, again, today on our panel, we have martial artists. We don't just focus on martial artists. We focus on anyone that would like to share their story with the world. We create the systems and to be able to manage that. And to write a book is actually the easy part. The hard part, if you want to sell it, is how to be able to market the book. So we're going to be covering some of those things today in our program. I want to go through and introduce our guests. We have Keith Yates and we have Randy Blake, and Keith is out of Texas and Randy is out of Oklahoma, I think it is. And again, Randy, Keith is a grandmaster in the martial arts. He's written a number of books and associated with a number of magazines. In fact, he and Karen have actually written a book together. And Randy is that new author. He is a 5-time world champion in kickboxing, and he has a brand new book coming out. So we have him here as that person that decided to take that opportunity and write a book. And we're going to be covering a little bit with him and also with Keith and Karen, and to really sort of get you thinking about, what is it I need to do? But before I get cranked up, I want to give Keith that opportunity to say something. Hey, Keith, welcome to our program today.
Well, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I know that you and Karen have written a book together. So everyone, if you're writing a book, you don't have to do it by yourself. We have several anthologies that we're writing with other people, and that is where you bring in other people and you actually write together. And I know you and Karen, you guys wrote one of the Taekwondo books. What was the title of that, Karen?
Oh, this is a great story. I got to back up just a little bit. First of all, Keith, it's so great to see you, my brother. And we actually wrote a major publishing together and had never met. So that's the beauty of writing this day and age. I don't know if you guys remember the Simon & Schuster Macmillan publications. They had something called the Complete Idiot's Guide, and they had them to everything: how to fix a car, how to build a house, how to do finances. I mean, the Complete Idiot's Guide, if you're a reader, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. I was approached to write the one on Taekwondo because I'd already been established as a magazine writer, and they liked the style, the personality, kind of the more of the loose, fluffy, formatted way of putting it, type writing, as opposed to technical writing. So they approached me about it. I'm actually a tongue judo practitioner. So John Corcoran at the time was engineering the whole project, and he knew Keith. Me and Keith often laugh. John Corcoran, may he rest in peace, he's a well-known martial arts writer. He had about 5 people that he trusted to work under him. Keith and I were one of them. So he collaborated us together back in like 1990, I want to say 1995-ish, something like that.
Sounds right.
And so Keith wrote the technical Taekwondo part, and I wrote all the philosophical and humorous part to the book. And it is still available today, called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Taekwondo. and it is available through Simon Schuster Macmillan. I believe Penguin Books has also picked that up, but that was a big project, Keith, and they were very strict, as you can remember, on how to get that done. They had a format, and you had to meet the deadline of that format every few weeks, if you can recall that. So I know
Right.
I remember it being tough, but you tell me on your end. I know you never met me, so I know it had to be pretty interesting on your end as well.
Well, it was, and I'd written a number of books already, and did a lot of articles for John Corcoran. So, like you said, he trusted me to be able to jump in, and kind of finish that up, and according to the publisher's guidelines.
Right.
So yeah, it was a fun project to do together, and it's also fun to go into a bookstore, if you can find a bookstore anymore, and see your books up on the shelf. So that's certainly one that has appeared all over the world.
Yeah, that was really she had kind of gave me the elevator right up as far as establishing myself as a book author. I knew you had already been published many times over by then, but you know what I want people to know out there is when you write a book and you have the freedom, Keith, to write any way you want, no deadline pressure, anytime, anyhow you want it, and you get to pick out all the creativity. It's so much fun. I mean, it's just it's almost like a little bit of your life's journey. You know what I'm saying? It feels like a journey, right?
Right, right.
It
And
sure
there are
does.
several different ways that you can publish a book. I mean, we did it with the traditional method with a publisher that had guidelines and so forth. And then I've also published books by getting them printed at a book publisher and then storing them in my garage and trying to sell them on the website. I still got boxes of books in the garage. And of course, the latest way is to do it with print on demand. So a lot of my more recent books, I think I've got 4 that are just print on demand.
Right. And the interesting part, that was the mid-90s when we actually wrote that major publishing. But we didn't meet till, I believe, Houston, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. That was the first time that we'd actually met in person.
Right.
So it's really cool how it is just, there's no end to how you can get a book out this day and age. You don't even have to know someone that you collaborate with. But truly, Keith, it was an honor, my brother. I know you're a well-established martial artist as well. And we hit it off well with our personality. We got that thing done, and I'm extremely grateful and so glad that we could partner in with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we have to give credit to John Corcoran for putting that together for us.
Rock on, brother.
Well, this is what we're talking about, is that in the 21st century, anyone can do it, but it is a job. So let's not, say that, well, it's a really simple thing to do, because, and I think that you have your traditional publishing, you have self-publishing, elite publications. We try to help in the self-publishing area as being a consultant of helping you to be able to get your book out. Now, as a consultant, you may already have a book out, but it's not selling. It's not doing what you want it to do. And I always say there's 3 reasons a person will write a book. Number 1 is something that you always wanted to do. Now, that book doesn't have to be a super great book. Maybe it's a book that you just want to have published and printed copies. You don't want it up on Amazon. You don't, with Elite, we have about 40,000 online websites and stores that we actually get our books into. Maybe you don't want that. It's something as simple as that. Number 2, you want it to do something for you. And that do for you, maybe you have a seminar, maybe you have something that you're doing that you want to actually have it to do. And Randy falls in sort of in that category. Again, he has a new book that's coming out, and we're going to chat about that in just a moment. And that 3rd reason is that you want to monetize. You want to monetize a book. You want that book to be able to create revenue for you. You watched on the news and someone's just received $1 million because they are expert in a certain field. Well, that they're doing that because that publishing house, maybe they have 2 million, 3 million people that, that subscribe, and they have this huge network. And what you can do, they can now have a market that wants that book, and they may give you $1 million, $100,000 up in front, but that list is so big and so specific that for their $30 book, they can give you $1 million when they know they're going to sell 500,000 to 1 million copies of your book. But when you're a self-published author, that's a little bit more difficult because you have to understand social media. You have to understand a lot of those things. So Randy, you're the brand new guy. You are a 5-time world kickboxing champion. So let's talk a little bit, to you, because let's start with you and introduce yourself. Where are you? And, give us a little bit of martial arts background. And why did you, as the new beginner, decide that you want to write a book?
Oh yeah, so my story is interesting. I've been in martial arts since I was 6 years old. I've been in traditional karate. I've got Taekwondo background, going on 29 years. I kind of jumped into kickboxing just as kind of just to kind of try it out. I became pretty good at it. That led to being on the Chuck Norris World Combat League. It led to world titles. It led to K1 glory. Just traveling all over the world. I've been as far as Japan. Got a chance to experience the outside of America, and just a lot of things have happened in my life. And when you look me up and you Google me, there's many different types of stories out there, and none of it really makes sense. I've got 15 different types of records. I've got all different kinds of marriage. I mean, it's a lot of things out there. And as you can see by my shirt, I'm a girl dad. So proud father. She's 1 year old. And I really was thinking about this. And I said, well, she's going to get the internet one day. She's going to have an iPhone. She's going to have an iPad. And that's one of the biggest things I don't want to have to deal with is, well, daddy, this says you're 6'2" and you're 135 pounds. Well, I'm 6'4", 220, Well, why does this record say that you're only 15-2? I've got over 52 wins, but we don't know that if you go to Dr. Google. So that was kind of my inspiration, was to sit down and really tell the story from my perspective. So she can have it and it can inspire many other people to just read my story.
Wow. Well, that's what we're talking about. How many stories are told about someone that's not true? So this is a great opportunity for writing a book, is to share the truth that you pass on. That's like with Randy, he passes on to his daughter. She's going to Google her daddy's name one day, and it may be true or not true. So that is a good reason to be able to do that. And Randy, I know that, we're using, because what we're doing, Elite is not really publishing Randy's book. He had another publisher, but we've come in as a publicist and to help him to be able to do that. And he launched his website last week, and he had a good day on Saturday with not a lot of effort. He sold 100 books. And so his book won't come out probably until September. But what we try to do in the marketing business is to get him selling his book, to build the anticipation of his book. And that is the key success. By the time you publish, write, and you get a book out there, and every time someone asks you about your book and you can never, well, it's coming out in the next few months, they don't get the chance to buy it. So with Elite, what we do is actually develop a plan that for you to be able to follow and be able to do that. And not only did we do that, we've actually connected Randy's online training program is going to launch to his book. So last Saturday, how many people did you get signing up?
I haven't checked, but last couple of days I checked, maybe 10 people have signed up so far. Are we talking about the online kickboxing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think 10 people right now, but we still got 2 weeks to really promote that. So that's March 26th. That'll be 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, and it's free.
Yeah.
So for the first.
Well, that's some of the things that we're talking about. So, I know, Keith, what was your first book, and what motivated you to want to write that first book?
Well, my first book was the complete book of Taekwondo forms. It was done back in the early 80s. And I was a forms competitor back in the 60s and 70s, and actually was the kind of the forms guy at the Alan Steen's Texas Karate Institute. So people would come to me for advice on forms, not only Taekwondo, but also karate. And I saw all of Jun Rhee's books. You know, if some of you guys remember the old days with Jun Rhee, had his Genji Tangun Tosan set of forms. So I decided to do one just in one single book. So interestingly, that book stayed in publication. It was with Paladin Publishers. It stayed in publication for over 30 years. And now I've got it on Amazon because I went ahead and did the artwork because I'm a graphic designer. I was able to do that and put it on Amazon. So it's still in publication after like 40 years. But working with Paladin enabled me to print or to publish several other books with them, and then went into other avenues. So I've got 18 books total in just all different kinds of areas of the martial arts, from history to technique to philosophy and so forth.
Well, you know, it sort of becomes addictive.
It does.
You know, when and that's the thing I'm saying. I've got 20 some books, and we've got 3 books that we're releasing this year, and we're publishing for other people. So, and again, this is the thing about writing and publishing. You know, what are you doing? I mean, when every day you're doing something, it doesn't have to be super specific. So I try to write, like I said, I've got about almost 20, I think we got 24 books I've written. And the other thing is that it's an income generator, because these books are still creating revenue. But, you know, I was a professional, I was a bowler. I was a bowling coach at Duke University. I have a book on bowling called Zen Bowling, The Psychology of Better Bowling. You know, the New You Self-Discovery System, Law of Attraction, Your Thoughts Determine Your Destiny. So wherever I happen to be, you know, in life, that's what I have a book on. We have the publishing company. We have 2 books on one of them is becoming an author, and the other one is becoming an author for martial artists. So wherever you are in life, that is a great place for you to begin to do that. And you can utilize your book to now make you an expert in your community by sharing your information. I know from the martial arts business, that's one of the reasons I became the instructor at Duke University. I was already lecturing, doing public speaking. I had a book out. So they offered me a position in 1988, and I was there, you know, for 27 years teaching at Duke. But one of the things that moved that needle to be selected was a book. So Karen, what inspired you to write your first book?
Like I said, I did things a little bit backwards. My first book was that one major publishing, and it kind of got put in my lap, and it's a miracle it got out, because my life was just a whirlwind. At that time, I was full-time at Fox News in Pittsburgh. It was a starter station. There were times I didn't get a day off because it was a startup station as a talent, and I was going through some personal issues. So, you know, I actually remember kicking that book back when John gave it to me. I said, he goes, this is right down your alley. This is how you write. I said, I can't, I got too much going on. He picked the book up and he threw it back at me. He goes, you will do this, because this is going to establish you as a writer. Rest in peace. He was, if you were a writer, he was a great guy to work with in martial arts. But then, you know, I have other books out. I have 2 with Century Martial Arts, all martial arts philosophy. I am a martial artist. It actually spun off a product line through Century Martial Arts. And there were mugs, t-shirts, bookmarks, posters that say I am a martial artist. And then I also had another book follow-up with them called They Call Me Master. It also spun off a product line with t-shirts and mugs and stuff. And that one is still available through Century Martial Arts. And then I wrote a self-help book, and this was my one self-publishing that I had. And I actually went through iUniverse and back in the day, this has been several years ago. And I wrote it because my father, unfortunately, he committed suicide. And I wanted to write a book to help people that had to survive something like that. So I wrote, Will I Ever Feel Happy Again? And it now is picked up by the Suicide Association as recommended reading for people who have lost a loved one to suicide. And, you know, I'm honored. I never did that for money. I didn't really care if anybody bought it. It's something I had to get off my chest, to tell you the truth. And when, you know, a Suicide Foundation, all these others started picking up as reading, a recommended reading, I was just so honored that something that I did went ahead and made a difference in somebody else's life. And I used totally my reporter instigation and skills to write that book, because I wasn't a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I worked with some of the best in Pennsylvania at that time to help me get that book done. And so if there's someone out there that is struggling with surviving the loss of a loved one through suicide, which unfortunately is a growing problem today, please look up my book, Will I Ever Feel Happy Again? It's available all over the place, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, you name it, online. But yeah, those are my 4 books out. And I just still do a lot of writing for magazines. And like you, if you are a writer, you get itchy when you don't write something. So I'm sure I got something coming down the pipeline pretty soon in my future. I'll keep you posted.
But that's really great because, you wrote from something that happened in your life, and that was that way to be able to express it. And writing is a great way to release those things inside of you. That's the reason why if you've got things that's happened in your life, but your experience can help someone else. So your book can be that guide that opens the door to helping someone else as you're dealing with it yourself. But someone else may be dealing with the same thing, that may be going through something very similar in that. And as you said, that one book spun off to other opportunities. I know one of my books, Unstoppable Confidence, I wrote, and I'm also a pageant judge for the Miss North Carolina pageant. And I have been to so many pageants and people will walk up to me, I have your book, Unstoppable Confidence. I'm going, really? And, it's totally surprising because I wrote that for a client when she was going through something. Those notes of how I worked with her, it actually turned into a book, Unstoppable Confidence. And she went on. She was Ms. America, who I was coaching. And that was a confidence thing that I wrote for her that we published, but it was all because I was doing something else for someone else. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing, where are you right now? What are you doing? Are you doing something or have an experience in your life that you've gone through that someone else can be able to learn from it? And I have my friend Dana Abbott here. Dana is on, he's another martial artist, but we have all these great people that are in my world. Our shows are going to change over the next few weeks, and we're going to be having other people in. But as we kick off, and Karen, we're sort of bringing in those people that are really close to us and who are successful. If you want to know how you're doing, check your 5 closest friends. So if you want to be an author, then you really want to hang out with people that are writing, that are giving you inspiration, giving you motivation on how to do. Hey, Dana, he's coming in from Arizona.
How's everybody doing today?
Hey.
I hope
Great.
everybody's well, and it's a good year for you at the very beginning, first quarter here. As you notice, I'm talking in quarters because I have to deal with the IRS in a month. You know how that is. So yes, last year we had a very, very good year, one of the best years we've ever had. So it goes to prove no matter what's happening outside your economy, your own thing around you, you can actually manipulate into your favor. Remember that. So if you write a book, or if you start a new website, or if you do anything with your own energy, you'll be surprised on what benefits you will reap. It's that simple. Now, a lot of people said, why did I write a book? Well, when I first came back here to the US in '98, after spending a decade and a half in Tokyo, I looked around to all the sword masters around here, because you check out everybody, and being martial artists, you go, or oh, things like that. So what happened is that I figured I better write a book on swordsmanship, and it was called Cutting Through the Mysteries, because there was all this FUD and all this thought process around sword that made it way more complicated than it was. And what I did was I just cut through all the mysteries, put in practical application the way I was taught through those World War II vets in Japan, and lo and behold, it slowly developed me into an authority figure. And as a martial artist, that is one of the most important aspects to writing a book and authoring a book. You can put out 40 or 50 books, but the one that will make you an authority figure will last you through your lifetime. So remember that. For example, Miyamoto Musashi wrote a book 1460, basically, around there. It's still well known. It follows him around. If he didn't write anything, who's he? So I want everybody that's online here watching us all to understand that just take some of your passion and apply it to a piece of paper. And of course, I'm not a writer. I can't write at all. I've read less books than I've written. It's that simple. But the nice thing about writing is that when I try to find people to write for me, because you do, because what do I know? I discovered that the ghostwriters I tried to find, they couldn't write my passion. And you have to put in your own passion. So what you do, you write a paragraph and you hold back and you rewrite it and reread it and you hate it and it sucks. It's like taking a picture of yourself. You hate your picture, you hate your kamae, you hate your stance, you hate your boxing, you hate this, you hate that, but that's how you look. So when you write, you hate your writing. I still hate my printing, but I get past it because I can bang out on an old typewriter here. So when you hear people writing books, it's not that difficult. The difficult part is, when will you quit procrastinating to get your first word out there? Now, a lot of people say, how did your work influence business? Let's go back to Miyamoto Musashi. His book went into business and it went into this because the same thought process in business and in pleasure is about the same. If you want to be successful in each one, maybe a businessman or, a skydive teacher, you never know. So look at it that way. And then let me see what I wrote here, because I wrote a couple of things. And it brings you back to an authority figure. See, I came prepared, but I thought this was at 11 o'clock this morning and not 10. So, I'm really punctual, not today. So anyway, getting back to the books, am I planning on doing another book? Of course, because my authority figure is so big. So I got to make sure I continue on with it. But now I'm starting to change, because my first books I wrote back around the turn of the century to get my name out there is way different than the books I wrote 5 years ago. And they're like the 47th Ronin, like little semi-fake novels and stuff on swashbuckling. We all see these movies, these guys' action movies, and I just want to see the shooting in the head and the killing a lot of the time. So I made some stories like that, all dealt with swordsmanship without the gooey stuff, just because some people just like reading a nice short 1 hour read of death and destruction. So anyway, I got away from that. And what I'm doing now is I'm at the same point my Japanese teachers were at their time. They were all in their mid-60s. They were all World War II vets, and these guys had astounding energy. And I said, how'd you do it? And they just explained it to me over the years how it happened. So now, in my mid-60s, with no gray hair, and I'm growing it out like I did 50 years ago, hey, if you got it, you might as well flaunt it, and I'm flaunting it now. Besides that, I don't have a job to go to, so I can grow it out as long as I want. So anyway, with the next thing we're going on with is I'm going into this thing called budoman.io, and that's going to push the peers in the martial arts to look more at their health also with their punching. So that's what I want to go into the next, because if you want to be a leader in the field, you got to be a leader in the field.
Hey, Dana,
that means you got to represent it. Thank you.
Dana, I know that, you're in the Black Belt Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And, and again, that's how, again, you became, I think that's how I found out about you, was actually through your book. So as we were talking, that one book creates the you become a celebrity. And as you become a celebrity and your work now grows and people start to know about you. So that is a really key thing that we actually think about, because it helps you to move to this next level. And I know for myself in writing that it really several awards that I've received for being a publisher, being an author, being able to do that. But and you've already sort of said it, and Randy said it too. Where did I come up with the idea? And then and Karen, we've all sort of said that. But when you sit down and start to write, and I guess, Keith, this goes sort of back to you, and you begin to, where do you get started? I always tell my clients, you've got an idea, then you grab your pen and paper, start with the end in mind, and begin to just outline those chapters. So if you have an idea, so I generally try to sit down and I have the idea, but I try to begin to think about the step ladder in doing that. So Keith, you have any insight on that?
Well, I agree with what Dana said there, that you got to have a passion, and then you've got to get off your duff and stop procrastinating and just get out there and do it. I would add, and maybe it's because of my academic background, that I would encourage people to learn how to write. Karen had mentioned that one reason that John Corcoran liked her writing, and I think my writing too, is we can write in a conversational style. Even though I've got a PhD in humanities, I can write in such a way that the average person can understand it. You don't have to have a PhD to do that. But still, I would say, short of finding a ghost author and paying them to do it, learn how to write, learn some grammatical rules and so forth. I've edited a number of books, and I was editor of Official Karate Magazine for a while, and people would send in articles, and they were just so badly written that we couldn't publish it, and I didn't have the time to work on editing it. So yeah, you got to have an idea, you got to have passion, but learn how to communicate well. And then that way, not only can you sell it to a traditional publisher, but even if you publish it yourself, people are going to give it high marks on Amazon and recommend it to their friends. I'm sure you guys have written or read a bunch of books where you just go, man, that guy can't even spell, so I don't want to write a book like that. So I would say go and enroll in a course at a community college or something, and learn how to write well and how to use grammar and punctuation and that kind of thing. And then combine that with your passion and the idea that you have that you want to sell. And it's going to be a winning proposition, I think.
Well, and with that, and I think that is very true, but that's the reason why when you go with a publishing company, that's someone that they have writing coaches, because sometimes that's just not going to happen for a lot of people. So you want to be able, but you have a message, and what you have to do, one of the things that you really have to do is to find someone that can help you deliver the message. That's where you really want to, that's especially if you're going to be writing, if you're going to be writing a book, and this is for your grandkids, it's just an autobiography for you. You don't care if it goes up online, but you're correct. If it goes up online and you're going to sell this book to the public, you really want to have a good book. You don't want to have a trash. And that's the reason why at Elite, we really try to work hard to make sure that that we provide that instinct and that direction from how to be able to do that and how to be able to market, what you're doing. But, we don't want to sound like, that, okay, you have to be a rocket scientist to be able to do it. Because this is the 21st century. There's a lot of different ways for you to be able to get your message out. And that's what we try to focus on we have, editors all over the country that we work with, that we use, that they sit down, and you don't have to, majority of my books, I just finished writing a book, God Gives Me Vision. And I get on my cell phone, and I voice to text, and I put it there. And then that's the way. I don't try to edit, to write and edit. I try to write, then I come back and try to edit, then I send it to my people, or I send it to someone else and get that format. But like I said, I've written over 25 books, so that becomes easy for me to do, because all these past experience, and know that first book was probably lousy, but it was able for me to get the message across to the people that I was talking to, which was my karate book, was my first book. And that book was adapted to Duke University and became the manual, instruction manual for martial arts for the university. So it really wasn't that bad of a book. But, there's a lot of things. And Dana, I know from your book and what you've done, you have actually moved. And we want to share that your book opens up a lot of other things. So Dana, I know that you're doing corporate speaking.
Yes.
And you also have an online program. So let's talk about, we have our book, but that's only one door. So we have the book, we have our audio programs, we have our online self-paced courses, then we take that into the corporate world. So let's take a moment and speak on that. We got just a few minutes left here.
Okay.
So let's take a few moments and just sort of speak about how your book, you're using that to become in the corporate sector.
Well, I was really lucky that it fell all into place back in the 80s and 90s when I lived in Japan, because practicing the sword there and what they called American spirits. Anyway, between that, they started asking me questions about how does American companies work from an individual that lived there. And lo and behold, it sort of started that way back then. Now, 35, 40 years later, here I am in America doing the exact opposite thing, working with people that want to learn a business attitude, either a person, individual, or someone at a company, H&R, or even a vice president, president. So with our training, it goes back to the Miyamoto Musashi thing. Follow tradition and put tradition and discipline in any path, you will succeed on whatever you're doing. With that basic thought process, I'm slowly putting the mystic of swordplay into the dullism of their corporate world. And lo and behold, a lot of people are starting to listen. So when we push out our books, or if you go over to my website, like my danaabbott.com, for example, and they follow along, then they can get a rhyme or reason. It isn't that we're selling them on anything. It's just a really nice business card so they can see what we can do. So later when we give them a call, they'll be less apprehensive. And that's what we want. It's sort of like when we went back to doing books. My first book wasn't written to publish and make millions. I used it as a business card and passed it out to individuals that are still with me today because they read about what I'm going to do and they wanted to follow it. Same thing in the business world with the same websites. So if you look at the art of war or the art of business or anything like that, it's just really simple, practical application. But everybody wants to make it so much harder with FISBIN, or you know what I'm talking about. So look at it that way. Now, when I'm working with people these days, like I'm working with Cox Cable and I'm working with a couple other ones because we're coming out of this, we're going into a new era, let's say. I can honestly see that this year is going to be really, really good because everybody's pawing at the ground to get back out there again and learn. And now it's our time to really get out there. But if we don't get it out there, no one's going to hear it. And that's one of the biggest problems. If we try to stay in our little cubicle and go, hey, I have this really great thing I want to tell you, they're not going to listen. Unless you're a big guy already and you whisper and they all listen. We're not. So we really got to get out there and say, here we are, more than once. Because if we don't, in this new age, they'll forget about us in minutes.
Right. Well, and Karen, I know as a writer, I know my books have gotten me the opportunity to write for a lot of different magazines. And I think that's another key point that we can talk about. I know that you're as a writer, but your books, I know you write for a whole lot of magazines. So let's talk about, okay, how did that book and you were already doing writing and stuff, but that book sort of helps to keep that door propped open and gives you that continual credibility as a writer.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my books outside of the major publishing and the self-help, self-published book that I did, the other two were through Century Martial Arts. Those two books probably opened up more opportunity than any other book that I had. And obviously in our industry, it's kind of a small world. Everybody knows everybody. And I was one of the first writers in the martial arts industry to actually write the way that I write. We came out with a lot of magazines in the 80s and early 90s where it was a lot of technical stuff, a lot of champions, people giving the techniques on how they can kick somebody's butt and wipe the blood up later, stuff like that. And I came out with writing stuff like, well, what do you do the next day after you lost? What do you do when you're so insecure and you got to step in the ring and you're a girl? I wrote about stuff that was real heartstring. It was never done before. It was, like he said, it was very personable type writing, and it just went crazy. People just were relating to it. Normal, regular, everyday people were just relating to it. John Corcoran used to say, you got to keep in mind when you write for martial arts magazines that the average reader is a green belt. So you have to write and relate to green belts. And I never forgot that. And I always kept my writing pretty easy to read and pretty much something that everybody can relate to. And so the magazine spun off into the 2 books that Century Martial Arts picked up. They basically were years and years of my magazine writings that were compiled. And then those books spun off into product lines. And then those product lines spun off into speaking arrangements and opportunities and, everything else that you can think of. So you're absolutely right when you say that one thing can absolutely lead to another. But I always go back to where's your heart? Because if you put your heart into something and you really do have the intention of making a difference in this world, you will go and succeed in every single way. So I always tell people as a writer, the first thing is to keep your heart into it.
Well, that is really super great, because that's what we do. I'm now publishing a magazine. I started writing for a magazine and all about mindfulness and how to get it out of your head. Now we're actually doing our own magazine, which is the Martial Arts Extraordinaire magazine. And, we've got a class that's coming up in a few weeks. And everyone, the link is actually in this post and it's on Eventbrite. You can click there. Karen and I are going to be doing a training session about the ABCs of how to write and publish your book. And as Keith was saying a few moments ago, you want to make sure that you're with someone that can guide you, because number one, it'll save you a lot of time, energy, and money. And number two, you'll produce something that you can have some self-pride in. You're proud of the work that you've actually done. So click that. I'm excited about working with Karen. You can see that she's got a whole world of information going on. I come in from the publishing and marketing end, and she's coming in from the marketing and how to brand yourself. So with your book, you're constantly trying to create that value. So this is coming to the end of our program today. And if you have questions, you can go to elitepublications.org is our website, or you can email me at info@elitepublications.org, or you can just message me on Facebook. If you are interested in learning more about how you can get started as an author, again, we got 4 great people here today with us that's sharing their story. Again, Rand is the brand new guy, and his book is coming out. And you can go to www.randyblakeJr.com. And Randy, are you going to, when people sign up, if they go and get a book, are you going to sign it for them?
I will. I will sign it and I will send it right back to you.
Right. So your book it's not coming out. I think it's towards July, somewhere along in there.
Yeah, roughly June.
Okay. So guys, so remember, go to randyblakeJr.com and get Randy's book. Hey, Keith, how can we get your book?
Well, a lot of them are on Amazon and some of them are on my website, which is akato.org, which is my martial arts organization. So you can order them there or on Amazon.
All right, great. And Dana, how can they get to your training, your online training website? And maybe we have, because this is being broadcast to a lot of businesses also. How does if someone want to have you as a corporate speaker, how do they get up with you?
Call, write, visit. Yeah, well, the door is open here on our side. All they have to do is call.
What's the number?
As far as communication, I make it easy with our website. There's no Japanese words in it. It's called learnthesword.com. And it's simple, effective throughout the world. Everybody has a hard time spelling samurai. So I just let it go at that. And then there's danaabbott.com or firstimpressions.com, for example, or it's about firstimpressions.com, or just put in Shihan Abbott in any search engine and I pop up there. So if they can't find me, they're not looking.
That is awesome. And Karen, how do we get your products? How do we get to your books?
My latest book, They Call Me Master, is still available at Century Martial Arts. The other books are all on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. I'm also listed as an AAU speaker, which is a lot like Dana. I'm a corporate speaker. I'm actually under contract already. So as a rare female high-ranked martial artist, I do get a lot of speaking engagements, and I do corporate type speaking, especially for women's businesses. And you can go to AAU speakers and see the details on that.
Great. And that's really good. Like I said, I'm a corporate speaker. I'm in New York in May, speaking for American Express. So guys, we want to share what we know and how it can help make you better. And we can save you time, energy, and money. Again, check us out. Go to the website, Elite. You can go to elitepublications.org. Let me know. We want to help you to be able to write your book. Remember, you got to come to Karen's, to our workshop we're doing together. We're going to bring you information. We're going to tell you the truth. We're going to make sure you get squared away.
Yep.
Again, that's Elite, www.elitepublications.org. And again, thank you guys for being on the program today. Let's keep doing what we're doing, making the world a better place. This is Jessie
Bye,
Bowen.
guys. Bye, Keith. Bye, Dana. Bye,
Bye.
Randy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.